Welcome back to the Synergistic CX podcast. This is part 3 of our 3-part episode where we're focusing on the car rental industry. In the previous 2 parts of this episode, we explored the key elements shaping the customer experience in the car rental industry and explored the customer journey map. Now, in this final segment, we'll broaden the conversation as Nabil Rizkallah of GWR Consulting shares his expertise and insights on the evolving landscape of customer experience. Christiane, would you like to kick things off?
Yes, thank you. And thank you again, Nabil, for accepting to share your knowledge with your community. We are so happy to have you here today with us. And it's great to ask you a few extra questions. Let's start with some general customer experience and research questions. The first one would be about customer experience evolution. As an expert on customer experience research, what do you believe are the most critical trends and emerging areas that companies should focus on in 2025 to stay competitive in the customer experience landscape? Could you share an example of a company that's doing it right?
I think there is a need for all companies, be it the customer, like for example, a rental agency, or a company like us where we measure the performance to integrate or continue our own digital transformation into almost a full AI adoption model. So if we take, let's say, the industry itself, I think as more AI is being accepted in the community of business community and consumers, people start expecting a little bit more from the interaction, right? Why is that company having a customized approach to my visit to it, to my interaction, to my UX, and the other one is just, traditional? Why does one tell me you have that class of car or equal to it? And why does that company actually show me the exact car? And why does that company have a predictive model where they can predict what I would want from maybe my previous rentals or visits or whatever my profile? And this one is just showing me a bland website with filters that I have to spend like half an hour filtering the one I want. And by the time I choose it, it might be obsolete now, doesn't exist. That's on the car rental side. This needs to be, I think, adopted and changed as technology has already surpassed this. And we've seen it in many other industries. From the research part, I think that traditional research has potentially no place anymore. What is required is in-depth analysis. So there is no alternative from the human interaction, let's say, for the mystery shopping part of things. But from there on, everything requires quite a bit of in-depth analysis and AI approach to have a much quicker sentiment processing of data, categorization, and then recommendations to the client that are quite customized to that client and to their data. And for this to be cost efficient, it has to have a human subject matter expert, but augmented by a quite an advanced AI system that will help them, produce their kind very quickly information and rooting out everything that might be a AI hallucination or irrelevant approaches to that. As an example to companies presenting that, I think, so that we don't advertise for anybody particular, they can find them online, but quite a bit of startups in the rental sphere have started to, I dare say, Uberize their approach, where the digital experience is absolutely end-to-end.
Interesting. So when you're talking about so many different approaches to research, one of the things our community is always curious about is way to proving return on investment on customer experience programs. So in your experience, how can companies effectively measure the return on investment in customer experience initiatives? What metrics should be prioritized to demonstrate tangible improvements in customer satisfaction?
Yeah, that's quite a bit of a tricky question. Like I think it's a simple a question, a tricky answer. There should not be a direct link between customer experience measurement and a specific ROI. That would be example to us saying, measure the HR and tell me a direct link of ROI. It doesn't work like that. But what is for sure specific is that customer experience makes or breaks a company, and Bain research has shown that there's a direct link between, or a correlation link between NPS and success of companies. So might not be direct causation, but it is definitely a very strong correlation. And then if you break down that, what are the elements that will get you there? So definitely NPS is a required measure. CSAT would be a required measure. However, if we look at the elements of value, each industry has its specific elements of value that need to be measured, that the customer looks at them as quality. So an example in our industry here that we're talking about, rental companies, no matter what the digitization is, at the end of the day, people want somebody to solve their problem if it wasn't solved digitally, right? So that is a direct KPI. The other thing is, no matter digital, not digital, paperwork, no paperwork, the turnaround time. I came to take the car, how quickly did I leave with it? That is a quality KPI. That time is a critical, the turnaround time is critical. The third thing would be, for example, transparency in the packaging. And so did you go there, get what you expected, be it the contract, be it the money, be it the fuel, be it everything? Is it clear, transparent, quick? Or is it fine typing in 5-6 pages that nobody reads, but then, you know, causes you trouble at the end? So these quality KPIs that are functional, basic, you know, they're about, there's quite a bit, but for that industry, I would count about 4 critical ones. Those need to be measured, and they are a subcategory of customer service and their quality functional attributes that need to be measured.
Okay, so if I understood correct, one of the examples you're saying is, for example, reducing the customer effort is one of the ways that you can improve and measure the success of customer experience initiatives. Is that correct?
You can summarize that as like customer effort as a KPI exists, right? But so let's say if I have a customer effort for working with a software company, and then a customer effort score for working with a rental company, and the customer effort score with any other company, maybe a retail company, I will get a score. But the question would be, under that score, what exists? What should I measure under sub that score that will define my industry? What I'm saying here is that each industry has critical attributes that are quality of that industry. In rental cars, those are quite specific. So it's turnaround time, the customers, the staff's ability to solve problems, which would be, you can rate it as customer service or staff's. The third would be transparency. So these 3 would define or part define what the customer perceives as customer service. And they need to measure those specifically to move forward and improve.
That's fascinating because it's related to my next question, because I know that GWR is a full service agency and you have experience with so many different methodologies. And I want to ask you about customer experience research methodology best practices. What are the best methodologies in your experience for gathering customer insights? For example, in the car rental industry, and how can companies ensure that they are using the right tools to get actionable and accurate data to improve their services offering?
Perfect question, Chris. So in GWR, we have set up a framework quite a while back based on a previous framework that a little bit many companies use, but they, I think, stopped using it for a while, and we adapted it. So it's called a SURF Qual standard. So we took the SurfQual standard that's based on the way SurfQual works. It takes the gap changes or the delta change between gaps in the service, the customer service approach of a company. So let's say a company plans something, they need to see the difference between what they plan and what the processes in the company include. And then they need to see the difference between the processes and the implementation. And then they need to see the gap between the implementation and the customer's perception and so on. But so that is critical when any company is looking at their own work. They need to see the gaps and the delta changes between all of these things so that they can improve it. But effectively on the ground, what are the tools to that? So the tools that we use would be primarily is mystery shopping, because mystery shopping is, you can have quite a bit of number of questions and scenarios to approach and test different aspects, stress test different aspects of the business. And then we have VOC that is done in multiple scenarios as well. So you can, have interviews with the customers on the door, or you can email them later, depending what business you're doing, and so on. And the third would be the reviews analysis, and all of that we use AI to strengthen our analysis and create categories, which in your presentation you showed a funnel, which is a journey map. Although there are journey maps for categories, we also customize it for that particular client in that particular country, so that they can break down their customers' steps in detail and define what aspects they need to improve to reach the top. So that's how we do it.
That's interesting. And Nabil, now going a little bit deeper in the car rental industry, and we were speaking before about the role of human resources in customer experience, because this is an industry that really needs to evolve in terms of artificial intelligence and more evolved softwares. But the car rental industry often deals with higher customer expectations, whether for business or leisure. Based on your experience with mystery shopping and training programs, what are the areas where companies could generate more immediate gains in customer experience while also working on these long-term strategies?
What we've seen in the market is once they get all of this data, there is a little bit of uncertainty. What do you do with it? There is no lack of data in the market. If anything, the pipelines of data are increasing by the day. And then the question would be, what would you do with this data? But on the short term, the lowest hanging fruits for change management would be to instantly focus on frontline staff and their ability to handle objections, be it a complaint or be it a question or be it anything, because the problems in that industry are set, like you can put them on one A4 paper. So defining a systematic way to solve people's problem instantly without going back to a manager and having the tools and the capabilities, the companies can instantly sort of change the next day anyway, obviously assuming they do the training program, but they can change very quickly, and that's a low-hanging fruit. As for the long term, that would be another thing. Did you ask me about the long term or not?
The long term as well, if you have.
Yeah, I mean, the long term, the long term would require process changes. That is a harder to do, and requires quite a bit of change management. But if they focus, for example, on removing as much friction as possible between the customer and the customer want, and reduce as a main KPI the turnaround time between wanting the car and then taking it and returning it with the least possible friction. This would be, I think, the long-term plan should be about for all of these companies, and with the current technology level, I think it's within reach.
Yes. So you are talking before about the so needed omni-channel seamless experience, navigating between the online and in-person service. And the digital platforms in the car rental industry have dramatically changed the customer experience, but also created new pain points, especially this when the customer started online and then it's offline, but expects the employee to know the previous interaction. How do you see these online platforms contributing to customer satisfaction, and how can companies use online research, for example, to identify and address?
I think as the demographics change, the age groups that are digitally aware and or potentially native digitally born, this demographic is increasing massively. And the concept we talked about earlier, this concept, I think, is more and more needed, and the businesses have to be aware of it, is that most people in most areas, we're not going to say all the countries and all the cultures, but most people in most countries that are currently customers usually go online and they want a frictionless experience. But if they face friction, the question mark would be, and that's what will separate good companies from great companies. If they face friction, what happens then? So is there a way to reach out to somebody? Is there a live chat? Is there a phone number you call anywhere in the world and you get responded to within, I don't know, maybe the second ring or the third ring? And can they speak your native language, or at least English as a common language? And can they have the ability to solve your problem instantly, right? Or work on it and then get back to you and give you a resolution. So because there should be an acceptance that by the time somebody reaches the point where they're looking for support and they press a button to see what is the support, now they are frustrated, they have a problem, there is friction, and they need a resolution. And this is a critical part of a seamless operation. You called it omni-channel, yes. And I mean, some businesses succeeded in that heavily within the rental world, and this Booking.com does that very well. Anywhere you go, there is any friction, there is a phone number, anywhere in the world, you call them and your problem is actually solved while you're standing there. Nothing is sold, we will email you back. Nothing is about, oh, sir, let me ask my manager, or I'm sorry, this has happened, and they give you some script that then, they put you on hold and you're left to your own devices. Somebody somewhere gave those people empowerment and a way to solve this. And that's the process part. But the first question, we talked about long-term. This is not simple. This is not about recruiting somebody that talks well on the phone. This is not about having, instead of 5 people. It's about a process trained for those people and empowerment that allows them to take action. And I think that is what would be expected from the customer, or what is expected by the customer.
Absolutely, and Booking is a great example. I agree with you, and Booking is indeed a great example, particularly when we are talking about complaints management, as in this industry, it can be very expensive for the customer if something goes wrong and the employee can solve it on the spot. So my last question for you, because you already give us the predictions for 2025, my last one will be the future of research and artificial intelligence. The role of artificial intelligence in market research. AI is transforming the market research industry. You talked about this before during our podcast. And from your perspective, and I know you are an early adopter, how is AI revolutionizing the way businesses collect, analyze, and act upon customer insights? Could you provide a practical example where AI has significantly improved a customer experience program that you have implemented?
I think we live in a very, very exciting times, and we're all learning the business all over again. And we have all become sort of augmented humans with powers we never knew had before. the speed of work changed, our customers changed, the market is changing, but all to the positive. Now, how can that? What does our future look like? I mean, I doubt anybody can predict what next week something new is going to come out. But what we can say is that we are all augmented, and some tools have become cheaper to do. So the cost is dropping, and the output is increasing. And this is quite interesting and forces us to rethink how we do things. The way we have adopted that, we adopted it by stages in many things. For example, right now in GWR, translation is quite easy. So basically, we have developed our own cover for a ChatGPT model, and then you put things in from one side, comes out the other, better translated than any other way we used to do before. So that's one example. Another one, we use also another tool, an AI tool, to verify if the report is aligned with clients' needs. So that is also a hybrid human AI approach with that. So it augmented the human that was doing that. We also use AI to analyze reports that we give to the client as final reports. And so the client is getting much more value from us, because we are implementing this hybrid human approach to it. At the same time, we always keep a human in touch, because everything is automated. The report goes here, it goes there, they get a notification, they get the email. But at the end of the day, the client wants to call somebody, and that somebody has to be able to solve their problem. So we also, implement what we just preached before, that the human side is increasing. Now, my prediction for the future is that we were going to go into a more automation period, but then we're going to go back to more human need. Humans like humans, and no company can run away from that. They have to have humans dealing with other humans in the extreme cases.
So you think that empathic capability is something that's going to be critical, even as we all embrace AI and it starts to touch every business out there?
I mean, we had an example in the, I think, from 2014 till 2018, where everybody thought there will be no more brick and mortar retail. And actually the market was affected, and Amazon grew, a lot of e-retailers grew. However, Amazon themselves started adding at some point brick and mortar, because there is no alternative to humans interacting together. Now, the market adjusted, it equalized somewhere of a mix between both. And the most successful retailers are the omni-channel ones, and not neither the only e or the only the brick and mortar. I think in digital transformation and AI, it will also balance out between a strong, influential presence for AI in everything we do, with also a strong presence for very well-trained, extremely knowledgeable, subject matter expert humans. Not any human, but subject matter experts. That's my prediction for the near future.
Thank you, Nabil, so much for sharing your knowledge with your community. You are a great example of what we believe in, the power of collective intelligence. And thanks so much again for sharing your knowledge with the CX channel.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Christiane. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Synergistic CX podcast. Nabil, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us and helping us walk through this industry study. If someone is looking to contact you or GWR Consulting, how is the best way to reach you?
They can reach out to our website, gwrconsulting.com, and they can reach out from there. That's the quickest way. We're also available on most social media platforms.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Again, if you'd like to download this industry study that you saw on this episode of our Synergistic CX podcast, you can do that from our website, cx-channel.com. Please subscribe if you like this podcast and look for us on your social media apps or websites or LinkedIn. And we'll see you next time on the Synergistic CX podcast, the place where CX professionals converge.